Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming. My name is Uri Dromi. I am the director of the Jerusalem Press Club. Welcome. Many thanks to the staff of the Genesis Prize Foundation, both here and in New York. Our colleagues, Linda Rifkin over there, Raya Koval, our friends at the Debbie Communication, our friends at Mishkenot, thank you very much, all of you. Warm welcome to everybody who watches us through live streaming through our website. Special hello to our friends in Mexico City. Hola, amigos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It has been a tradition already. Every June, we welcome the Genesis Prize Foundation as they present the new Genesis Prize laureate here in Jerusalem. The Genesis Prize is a relatively young initiative, but it is already becoming increasingly important event in the Jewish world. It is also becoming increasingly well-known internationally, with international media frequently calling it the Jewish Nobel. So very glad to have the Genesis Prize with us today again, and we are particularly honored to have with us the 2016 Genesis Prize laureate, Itzhak Perlman, and the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of the Genesis Prize, Stan Polovets. Before I introduce our speakers, I would like to show you a short video, a brief one that talks about the impact made by the previous laureates of the Genesis Prize and puts the Genesis Prize project in a larger context.
Each year, the Genesis Prize honors an outstanding individual with a $1 million prize in recognition of his or her professional achievement, contribution to humanity, and commitment to the Jewish people and Israel. The founders of the Genesis Prize Foundation, German Hahn, Michael Friedman, Peter Aven, and Stan Polovets, together with Genesis Prize partners, the Prime Minister's Office of the State of Israel and the Jewish Agency for Israel, envisioned that the award would inspire the next generation of Jews in their quest for achievement and making a positive impact in the world.
The hope of the Genesis Award from the beginning is that the senior leaders who win the award would inspire younger generations.
In the short history of the Genesis Prize, a tradition has emerged for the laureates to re-gift their $1 million award to philanthropic causes about which they are passionate. In 2014, the Genesis Prize presented its inaugural award to philanthropist, businessman, and Mayor of New York, Michael R. Bloomberg.
Michael Bloomberg did a wonderful thing. The idea to take his $1 million prize award and to share it between young people, doing what we call in Hebrew, tikkun olam, making this world a better place.
When I accepted the Genesis Prize, I knew that I wanted to use it to inspire young people to give back themselves. By encouraging the next generation to come up with creative ways to make a positive impact, the Genesis Generation Challenge is doing just that.
In April 2015, 9 winning teams were each awarded $100,000 to implement their projects. Sesame Enable, based in Israel, was one of the winners of the Genesis Generation competition.
When a competition like the Genesis Generation Challenge came and said we're highlighting projects that changed the world for the better, it was like, this is us, guys. Sesame uses advanced computer vision technology to track the user's head movements, through which you can operate the entire phone.
Another winning project was Building Up, an organization based in Toronto, Canada, which retrofits low-income housing units with water-efficient utilities, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. Building Up then hires individuals with barriers to employment, teaching them marketable skills.
You're going into buildings telling them to invest thousands of dollars, and you're hiring people that no one else will employ. To have that Michael Bloomberg stamp of approval was really something that opened a ton of doors.
Michael Bloomberg's regifting initiative has had a critical impact for young adult Jews and their communities around the world. Bloomberg himself has continued to show his dedication to the Jewish people in Israel since winning the Genesis Prize. Michael Bloomberg traveled to Israel during the FAA flight ban in 2014 to show his support for the Jewish state. The flight ban was lifted a day after Bloomberg arrived in Israel. When Bloomberg Philanthropies expanded its innovation team's program to 14 new cities, Jerusalem and Tel Aviv were awarded grants.
The Genesis Prize reached out to me to honor me. I had to stop them and say, I think you're making a terrible mistake here. You know, my mother is not Jewish. They said, I think we know that. And this incredible sense of well-being, of being part of a group came over me. A feeling on the outside for almost my entire life. And I must say, this Genesis Prize really gave me a sense of being.
Inspired by Michael Douglas's passion to engage intermarried families like his own in Jewish life, the decision was made to invest the 2015 Genesis Prize Award in a matching grants program through the Jewish Funders Network to support new and expanded initiatives to welcome intermarried couples and their children.
We had around 50 new funders that started to get philanthropically involved in this issue through the matching grant.
Philanthropist Roman Abramovich contributed an additional $1 million to further the impact of this initiative. $3.3 million has now been invested. The 28 recipient organizations from 7 countries are embarking on projects that will engage tens of thousands of previously unaffiliated families in Jewish life. During his year as the Genesis Prize laureate, Michael Douglas wrote an op-ed in the LA Times against anti-Semitism, was a keynote speaker at the Conference of the Union of Reform Judaism, addressed his congregation on Yom Kippur, and participated in the announcement of matching grants recipients at the Jerusalem Post Conference. He made it a priority to visit universities in the United States with Natan Sharansky to engage in dialogue with young adults about inclusion, anti-Semitism, and BDS.
We put together a tour, and I was very fortunate to have Natan Sharansky, head of the Jewish Agency, who was willing to join me in talking to different college campuses.
A portion of Michael Douglas's Genesis Prize Award was granted to Hillel International, supporting efforts to train interns to engage students from intermarried families in Jewish life. The Genesis Prize Foundation mission has come to life, planting seeds that will bear fruit for years to come.
Everyone who entered the challenge, I hope you continue to give back to your communities, expand your ideas, and find new ways to repair the world.
I will be eternally grateful to the State of Israel, to the Genesis Prize, and to the Jewish Agency for trusting me in this opportunity and for bringing me closer to my tribe.
The Jewish community has always cared about others, always been generous in helping those in need uplift themselves.
The Genesis Prize is giving young people the opportunity to find a meaningful path, which will bring them closer to the Jewish people and Israel through the inspiration of each of the Genesis Prize laureates. The 2016 Genesis Prize laureate, Itzhak Perlman, plans to direct his award to projects that raise awareness for people with disabilities in Israel and the diaspora, and inspire the next generation's great classical musicians.
I would like to congratulate Michael Bloomberg and Michael Douglas on achieving the goals of the Genesis Prize. And I hope that in my humbleness, I can do a good job in giving and helping the world be a better world.
Jewish heritage and values have contributed to human advancement for centuries. The Genesis Prize is on a mission to encourage and strengthen those values within the next generation. This is just the beginning. The Genesis Prize, inspiring the next generation.
Thank you, Uri. Good afternoon. Itzhak is not here yet. It's unusual to start the press conference by thanking the members of the press, but this is exactly what I will do. I was on this stage about 2 years ago with Michael Bloomberg, our first laureate, when you and your colleagues asked some very interesting questions and challenged some of the assumptions behind the prize. I must say it was a fairly difficult press conference. We managed to respond to some, not all the questions you raised, but have thought about them very deeply after the press conference. And the answers to those questions have made us a better organization and made this a better project. Let me just review very quickly what the questions were and what some of the criticism against the Genesis Prize in the very beginning was. Why are you giving $1 million prize to a very wealthy individual? Was the first one. Secondly, if your goal is to inspire young people, why are you giving a prize to an individual who is 70 years old? How are you going to inspire them? Thirdly, aren't there more individuals, are there other individuals who are more worthy of the prize? What has Michael Bloomberg done for the Jewish world, for the state of Israel in his career? His engagement with Jewish life admittedly was fairly limited in comparison to some of the other people who've supported the state of Israel and been very active in Jewish life. Fourthly, why are so many members of the leadership of this prize representing the right wing of the political establishment in Israel? Why do you have Prime Minister Netanyahu giving out the prize? Why do you have Yuli Edelstein chairing the prize committee? Why do you have Natan Sharansky chairing the selection committee? Isn't this a political project? And finally, we were challenged on the gender makeup of the committees. Why do you have more men than women on the committees? It's a question I often get asked by my daughter, who is here in the audience. These were all very legitimate questions, and we took them very seriously. Some people tend to dismiss questions from the media. We didn't. We felt it was important to hear the criticisms because we were just starting out on what we hope is a very long journey. This is not a project for a few years. It's a project that's endowed by $100 million and hopefully will last in perpetuity long after you have a new prime minister, speaker of the Knesset, and the founders of this prize. We also felt that this is not our project, that this is a project by and for the Jewish people, and all of you are stakeholders in the success of this project, and we wanted to hear your criticisms, suggestions, and if we could do something to improve this project, we would be more than happy to do so. And hopefully we did. So I want to just look back to the press conference 2 years ago and explain some of the reasoning and what we've done to reflect on the comments we heard from you 2 years ago here. Why are you giving $1 million to a very wealthy individual? And I think you could probably look at Michael Douglas, our laureate from last year, and Itzhak Perlman. These are not individuals in need of $1 million. The reason we've chosen them is based on the criteria that we've agreed with our partners, the State of Israel, the Office of the Prime Minister, and the Jewish Agency, that the individual receiving the prize has to be exceptionally successful in his or her profession, has to be globally known, and has to have a strong sense of Jewish identity, willing to publicly speak about his pride in being Jewish. But the first two criteria, exceptional in his or her profession and globally known, lead us to a demographic of people who are who are not in need of $1 million. You can argue whether it's right or wrong, but society today rewards people for their professional success usually through financial rewards. So the people that we have given the award so far and will probably give in the near future will not be in need of $1 million. But the feedback that we received from you led us to, it's not a legal requirement, it's not a precondition to giving somebody an award, but we encourage very strongly the recipient to regift the $1 million. And as you know, Michael Bloomberg, as you've seen from this film, has regifted it to wonderful projects that are initiated by young people and who are doing wonderful things, and it opened door for other funding from them. Michael Douglas's $1 million was regifted to initiatives to include intermarried families in Jewish life, and that gift was matched by $1 million from Roman Abramovich, and the Jewish Funders Network also organized a matching grants competition. So our $1 million at the end turned out to be $3.3 million. And Itzhak will talk about his regifting plans today, but that $1 million will also become several $1 million. The second point about the age of the laureate, how do you plan to engage young people by awarding the Genesis Prize to individuals who are 60, 70, maybe older? And I think we've been able to do that by ensuring that those individuals engage with young people and regift the funding to projects that involve young people and inspire young people. And Itzhak will talk about that today with respect to his project, but you've seen the film, and certainly both Douglas and Bloomberg have done a lot to engage young people. Third comment and criticism was related to the relatively limited engagement by Michael Bloomberg in Jewish life. Aren't there people who are more worthy of a prize, who've done more for the Jewish people? Elie Wiesel, Alan Dershowitz, names like that came up. And our response and our view was that, yes, there are many individuals who have done a lot for the state of Israel, for Jewish life, and they've certainly received a lot of awards and are worthy of other awards as well. Our prize is intended to move the needle, to have an impact, not to give somebody an award that they can just put on their shelf or deposit $1 million in their bank account, but we wanted to influence individuals who have a global platform and have them talk about the importance of Jewish values to them, have them be engaged or more engaged than they have been. So going back to Michael Bloomberg, he certainly was engaged. He gave money to Israel. He came to Israel during the war here in the past. He's been lobbying different administrations on behalf of Jewish causes, but his level of engagement stepped up radically after he received the award, and you also saw that in the film. There are a lot of other things he's done that is not public and is not in the film, but I can share with you that he was one of the most vocal critics of the Iran nuclear deal and a lot of other things that are important to the state of Israel. Michael Douglas was involved in a fairly limited way, but since receiving the Genesis Prize, this has become one of the main things, if not the main things, he's been focusing on. And unfortunately, Natan is not here, but Natan Sharansky can tell you about the campus visits that he did with Michael Douglas, where Michael was so passionate and so impactful on the young people when he talked about his Jewish journey, his opposition to anti-Semitism, BDS, and so on. So our goal is to influence individuals and have that, make sure that they do much more than what they've done in the past. It's not necessarily to reward past performance, it's to influence and impact what they do after receiving the Genesis Prize. The right-wing criticism, it's not, this is something we can just respond to. There is really not much we can do about it. This is a prize in partnership with the Jewish Agency and with the State of Israel. We felt it was important that this not be a private initiative by private philanthropists, but be a project that we undertake jointly with the State of Israel. And we work with whoever is in power, whoever is the Knesset speaker, whoever is the prime minister, whoever is the chairman of the Jewish Agency will be our partner. So as Israel goes through different political changes and different people are in charge, those people will be our partners. But as you can see from the laureates, and I think the concern initially was that the makeup of the leadership will impact the selection of the laureates. You can see that this hasn't been the case. Bloomberg is a centrist politically. Douglas is way to the left politically, as most people from Hollywood tend to be. Itzhak Perlman, I don't know what his politics are, but he's certainly not a right-wing hawk. The final comment dealt with gender balance, which we take seriously. We have 40% of women on the prize committee that selects or that gets to the last 5. We're 25% on the selection committee. Our advisory board is probably more or less even in terms of gender balance. And our management team sitting here is mostly women. But we can do better, and we worked hard all 3 years to ensure that there is representation of good representation on the list of potential laureates, and it is our goal to have a woman laureate in the very near future. So I hope this answers some of the questions. After Itzhak speaks, I'm happy to take more questions and happy to hear more criticisms from you. And I make a promise that, unlike Donald Trump, will not pull credentials of the journalists that criticize and challenge us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. As Stan said, he will stay here if there are relevant questions for him. We also have here Sana Britavsky of the Genesis Foundation, and Maxine Finkelstein, who can also answer some questions, and Ahuva Yanai of Matan. All of them can elaborate if the question arises about the use of the previous grants.
Just make sure Trump is not watching this, because I need to go back to New York.
You know, I thought we were not talking politics here at all, and you raised right-wing things and all this. Surprised me a bit, but good for you. No, I don't think Trump is leading. And now it's my pleasure and honor to introduce the laureate of 2016 of the Genesis Prize, Mr. Itzhak Perlman. Okay, welcome first of all, and congratulations. And let me say a couple of words about you, okay? Only
Really?
briefly.
Are you sure? Okay.
Very sure.
Shall I put my...
No, you listen to this.
I can listen, good.
Itzhak Perlman, probably the preeminent violinist of our time. Oh, 1 second. We'll move this so you guys can see. So Itzhak Perlman is one of the preeminent violinists of our time. It was said about him, now you can close your ears, the man who plays sitting down has never ceased to bring audiences and truly the world to its feet in appreciation of his gifts. Mr. Perlman was born in Israel. He studied at the prestigious Juilliard School of Music in New York. 30 years ago, almost to the day, he was one of the 12th first-generation U.S. citizen to be honored with the Medal of Liberty by President Ronald Reagan in recognition of appreciation of his contribution to America. And in December 2000, President Clinton awarded him the National Medal of Arts. That's only a few of the awards and the medals.
The other medal, the latest one, you didn't mention.
You tell them.
No, you're the one that's talking about me. So you go ahead. You tell them. Yeah, the Medal of Freedom. Unless you're afraid to mention the name, no?
No, it's here.
Okay.
But
oh, good.
I meant to mention it, but you preceded me. Anyway, Itzhak Perlman and his wife founded the Perlman Music Program in 1998 to nurture young musicians age 11 to 18. And he's doing a lot of other wonderful works which we'll hopefully find out later. So thank you for coming with us. Please share with us your...
You want me to talk about... You want me to read my speech, okay? I have a speech.
Why don't you read your speech?
Okay, I'll read my speech.
You need me to hold this?
Yeah, that would be great, because then it'll... Really? Yeah. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's a long one. It's a long one.
What? Yeah, it's a lengthy, very. Yeah. If you want to leave now, you can leave now. You know, it's very profound and lengthy. So, first of all, it's it's a great pleasure for me to be here. I'm both humbled and honored to receive this award. It is truly, well, it really touches my heart. Throughout my life, I've been fortunate and honored to receive recognition and many prizes, but the Genesis Prize is particularly meaningful. First of all, it is important that it's given here in Israel, in the country of my birth. This award recognizes achievement, but it is connected to Jewish values, the very spirit of the Jewish people, which is part of my essence and inspires me in all I do personally and professionally. This award is unique in providing an opportunity to do something meaningful with the generous $1 million prize. Unlike most prizes, you don't just get rest on your laurels. In other words, most prizes, you get the prize and it's very nice. Here, you get the prize and you give it right back. That's what makes it so Jewish. So when they call this the Jewish Nobel Prize, it's totally true. It's like, here it is, there it goes. And this is what makes this prize very distinctive. As you just saw in the video, which I did not see, so I don't know what was on it, previous laureates directed funds to make a difference. They have been able to achieve an impact that will continue going forward, and I hope to do the same, particularly in the two areas I'm most passionate about. As you're aware, my wife Toby and I made the Perlman Music Program a long-term commitment to teaching string musicians with a promising future, with the goal of cultivating a new generation of top-class musicians and performers, the next generation of the global elite of classical music. You know that here in Israel, things go in cycles. When I was first coming to the Juilliard School, there was Israelis all over the place, and you hardly saw anybody who was coming in from Japan or China or Korea. Now the cycle is going where there are less Israelis and more people from the Far East, and it goes in cycles. And what I would like to do is I would like to return the cycle of Israeli talented artists back to what it was before. And there are several reasons for cycles. It could be competition with high-tech startups and so on and so forth. And maybe the parents at the home don't say, "Come on, play a little fiddle and play a little piano," and so on. Maybe they don't do that as much. But I'd like to help get back the great culture of music And that's what some of the award is going to go towards, to developing high-class, teaching and so on and so forth, and to give the opportunity for the talent to grow in Israel and to continue to grow. And we're also contemplating a few other initiatives in support of Jewish culture, but these are works in progress at the moment, and we are not able to describe these now, but we will be able to provide you with details later. The other thing that I'm, of course, very, very much interested is the problems of the disabled. And that's some of the award is going to go for that as well. For much of my life, I have had to overcome barriers, and I'm very well aware of the barriers other people with disabilities encounter every day, because I encounter them myself. This includes physical barriers, where people are unable to have physical access to spaces that other takes for granted. Public spaces, concert hall, park, so on. It is a problem in the United States where I live, and despite the improvement in recent years. For instance, a major synagogue in New York does not have real proper access for people with limited mobility. I can tell you that from personal experience. And it is certainly an issue in Israel. Much of the infrastructure here was built before access was for people with limited mobility was a standard. I always find it fascinating that 50 years ago, 100 years ago, there was no structure that was helpful to people with disabilities, as though there were no people with disabilities 50 and 100 years ago. They were always there, but for some reason, there was not the awareness. So it is clear to me that so much needs to be done to improve access and remove barriers in this country. One area which I feel is particularly important is encouraging access to cultural events for both children and adults with disabilities. One of the aspects of society that enriches all of us is attending concerts, visiting museums, and joining in community celebrations. So I envision a society where every person who wishes to participate will have the means and face no physical barriers to full engagement. And that means that if I want to go to a concert, for example, I don't have to make a telephone call and say, is it accessible? What should I do? I should automatically know that when I go to a place, there is access for me as well as for anybody else without a disability. And I would also like to know that, and again I'm speaking from personal experience, that I don't have to say, oh sure, it's accessible, you can go through the kitchen, or you can go through the basement, or you can go through the garbage elevator and so on. That does not, for me, that's not access. I need access with dignity. So physical barriers, of course, are not the only issue. And there are also barriers created by the perceptions and attitude of the people towards those with disabilities that, in the end, makes it much more difficult for them to realize their full potential. This also impacts our entire society, as people with great talents are seen through a lens of disability rather than ability. Clearly, this needs to change. And I always say, you've got to separate your abilities from your disabilities, and everybody has to do that. So with all this in mind, there will be 2 competitions to select and fund the best projects to address these issues. The programs will run in Israel and in North America. In Israel, it will be operated by Matan, and in North America by the Jewish Funders Network. The initiative in North America will benefit from the additional contribution of $1 million made on top of the Genesis Prize Award by philanthropist Roman Abramovich. I look forward to seeing the launch of multiple programs to deliver a tangible impact, much like the programs launched by previous year's laureates. I'm committed to being continually involved in steering these initiatives to completion as much as I can in the coming year. So, thank you very, very much.
I'm sure that when you play a violin concerto, you stick to the notes, and here you made some good improvisations.
As long as
and
they're good
cadenzas.
Cadenza, little cadenzas, or some of my friends used to call them credenzas.
Okay, let's open up for questions. Wait for the mic. Let me ask you the first one. This is about heroes in Jewish life. Who were your heroes? Or hero?
Anybody who is Jewish. Well, you know, I mean, my heroes, as when I was growing up, obviously my heroes were always musicians. So, what?
Like whom?
Like whom? Well, a nice Jewish violinist by the name of Yasha Heifetz. I don't know if anybody knows who he is here. You know, I'm used to when I teach students, sometimes I say something that, for me, I mean, I mentioned somebody who's so well known, and they said, who is that? Because I forget, you know, they're very young. So I'm giving you a compliment. Does anybody here is young enough not to know who Yasha Heifetz was? No. I guess not. So, you know, he was one of my heroes, and actually he was one of the people that actually inspired me to play the violin, because I heard it on the radio. And at that time, you know, in Israel, when you had,
50s.
in the, well, we're talking about 49, 48 already, the radio station here was, shall we say, very limited. And, you know, pop music, I think, was sometimes Heifetz, which is very nice. You know, how refreshing, you know. Now you'll hear something really fun, you know, the horror staccato by Mr. Heifetz. So anyway, so of course, that's what I heard all the time, so.
Okay, let's open up and wait for the mic. Please introduce yourself and ask a very short and pointed question.
And a question that I can actually answer.
Right. If not, I'll help you.
No, the microphone
is not
on. No, it's tight.
Linda Gradstein for the Media Line. Could you talk a little bit about what's it like for you to come back to Israel? What's the best part and what's the most challenging part?
The challenging part is the flight. And that, because I don't like to fly, so, you know, I say, thanks God when we land, it's like, I always behave towards it, it's like a miracle that we land. That's the first miracle. The second miracle is that I get my bags. That's another miracle. But of course, coming to Israel for me has always been coming home, all the time. You know, I left Israel in 1958, and I was away for until 67. So when I came back, you know, it was like I never left. You know, just the atmosphere, the smells, you know, the people and so on. I feel so comfortable here, and that's the only way I can describe it, as a comfortable of somebody who is an Israeli native. So, you know, of course, always playing here with the Israel Philharmonic is like playing with Mishpucha, you know, and so. And it's been an ongoing experience all the time, so it's wonderful.
Next. Yeah. No, we can hear you.
I'll talk loud. I'm Kathy Shafran, freelancer, we'll say. I don't know if we're talking politics or not.
Not.
So I just thought I'd bring you a little bit back with that. I'm wondering two questions. Question one, have you received any repercussions since your decision not to perform in North Carolina? And second question, not related to North Carolina, but related to politics a little. Your impressions of Donald Trump's statements that the U.S. should follow Israel in terms of, what's the word?
Racial profiling.
Yeah, profiling. That Israel is great in terms of profiling people when they come to the country.
I haven't heard that particular one about Mr. Trump. I've heard a lot of Mr. Trump, but not this one. So I'm not gonna, you know, I feel safe in Israel. That's all I can tell you. You know, whatever he wants to do. I mean, I really don't care what he wants to do. I mean, I care that he shouldn't do it. Whatever. Let's put it that way. Whatever he says, forget about it. You know, I mean, you know, I hope that Hillary Clinton does it, and that's as far politically as I'm going to go. Now, I don't know what was the other, as far as North Carolina, well, the North Carolina was this, I'm sure everybody here knows what it was. It was called the bathroom law, which I think was only the tip of the iceberg. This law was very, very anti-discriminatory. It was discriminatory, you know, and that there were a lot of anti-discriminatory laws that were turned down by this kind of law. And I was actually, I had this concert with the North Carolina Symphony, and I was ready to go because I felt that I did not want to hurt the musicians who were involved. But when they wouldn't let me express my views, that's when I decided not to go. So in our repercussions, listen, everybody has a right to agree or disagree. I would say that at least 95% was positive. And so, you know, so I'm very happy that in retrospect, that was my decision.
Wonderful. Over there. Wait for the mic 1 second.
Do we have a fixed mic? Not fixed. I can hear you.
It's not working. Okay, I just speak. Daniela Rick from Spanish News Agency, EFE. It only took 3 editions of this prize to laureate a musician. Could you elaborate a little bit on the relation and the connection between music and the Jewish people?
Well, music and the Jewish people. Do you have a couple of hours here? We can stay here. Well, first of all, I was mentioning before one of my heroes, which was Heifetz, but of course, you know, he's just one of many, many amazing violinists, you know, and everybody's saying, how come all these great violinists were Jewish? So, well, that's the fact, you know, and that's that huge. That's when we had the cycle all the way on top when we mentioned Milstein and Stern and Oistrakh and of course Heifetz and Misha Elman and so on and so forth. So there is an incredible connection especially between classical violinist performers. I believe there are a few cellists there who were also Jewish. I mean, we're talking about let me see who. I think Immanuel Feuermann. I think Pirogorsky, and so on. So there's a great connection, and the challenge these days is to continue this connection. Oh, there are many young Israelis, wonderfully talented, and so on and so forth, and our great challenge is to keep them here longer than because sometimes people tend to always want to go. Listen, when you talk about me, the word hishtalmut is always something that's on the tip of everybody's tongue, which is to complete yourself. So when you get to a certain age, you always say, "Oh, I've got to go to Europe," or "I've got to go to the States," which was in my case. But the challenge is for them to continue to be involved with Israel and so on, and so to come back in any shape, way, or form, whether as teachers or as performers and so on. So that's always been a challenge.
Okay, we need to wrap up because we have you have a busy schedule. We take one last one here.
My name is Hannah Feugl from the Danish radio. I was just wondering, listening to where you're going to put your money, and it sounded really beautiful. How much are you under instructions from the Genesis Foundation to place your price in Jewish projects, in Israeli projects, in general projects?
According to so far, I'm under no pressure at all. The problem and the reason that I'm not any pressure is because they want me to do all the work. Because if I was under pressure, that means that they will tell me, look, you do this and this, and then I have nothing to say. But no such luck. Yeah, I have to do the work, and I have to make the research, and they're helping me with, once I say to them, this is, I'm interested in such an organization, then they do all the research and so on. So in answer to your question, that I'm basically free to So to choose something, obviously we know what the Genesis Prize is about. It's about charity, and it's about charity to Jewish causes, and not always Jewish causes, but charity is charity as far as I'm concerned, and so that's what we're trying to do. And of course, as I said before, my two main interests are music and problems of the disabled, and so that's what we're doing.
On this happy note, I want to thank you very much for this engaging press conference. Congratulations on the award, and you are really our hero. Thank you very much. We take a few minutes break. Okay, we take a few minute break. Stan will say something, and then we'll join again to the next press conference with Dame Helen Mirren. But Stan, please.
Very quickly, to respond to the lady who asked the question about Jews and music, at the ceremony tomorrow, we'll dedicate a portion of the ceremony to highlighting the contribution of Jews and music. It'll be on our YouTube channel probably a day or two after the ceremony, so those who are interested could enjoy it.